Hello, North Carolina Education Corps members. My name is Geraldine Dinkins, and I am sending you this video to apply for a position as a Corps member in the Transylvania County School District as a literacy tutor, I guess is what it is called. I'm going to go through the few question prompts that I have. To describe myself, my background, and my current situation. I am a mother. I'm a self-employed writer and a consultant. I work from home. I'm a former small business owner, and I'm also an elected city official. I actually ran a write-in campaign in 2019 and was elected to the Brevard City Council as one of 5 council members, and am serving a 4-year term that will end in 2023. I am an immigrant. I have lived in the United States for almost 30 years now, and I immigrated from Switzerland, where I grew up. I was born in South Africa to Swiss parents and spent most of my formative years, i.e. my public education years, in Switzerland before I immigrated to the United States. As I mentioned, I work from home. That is so that I can be available to my 13-year-old son at all times. He is on the autism spectrum. He attends school. He's going to be in high school in the Transylvania County Schools District. However, being on the autism spectrum presents some challenges that mean that sometimes I have to be available during school hours, or obviously after school hours as well. So I prefer to work from home as much as I can and work flexible positions where I can have quick reflexes when I need to respond to his needs. I am interested in working more in public education. I actually was hired in April as the executive director of the Transylvania County Schools Education Foundation. It's a position I enjoy. It's a part-time position. It's mainly fundraising and administrative work for the school district. But what I'm hoping to do is add a few more gigs to that, and I would really like to stay in the nonprofit world and in public education, because that is where my heart is at. And with that, I'll segue into the question as to how working for the North Carolina Education Corps would fit into my short-term and long-term goals. Short-term, I am looking to reinvent myself in the 4th chapter perhaps. I have owned a small business, and before that worked as a journalist. And since I've closed my small business, it actually had to be closed because of COVID. It was event related, and I was just not going to survive the extended time that we have all spent in lockdown. But anyway, so this is a new chapter for me, and I am really looking forward to putting my people skills to work with students, with children of all ages, and to work and do my part in public education. I believe that public education is the cornerstone of a country that runs as a democracy, and that the stronger the education part is as a great equalizer, the stronger the government that funds it will be. And so I am wanting to be part of that, and this segues into the long-term structure that I actually, in fact, have been looking at your guys' jobs positions, because long-term I would love to come work for you or work for somebody in a similar form and fashion. I believe that there is a public education renaissance just around the corner, where some thinking will shift in terms of what comes first, results or funding. I'm a firm believer that funding comes before results, and that results alone cannot be what funding is judged to be appropriate on. And with that, I'm going to talk about your last prompt, which is how do I work when I'm in a difficult situation, perhaps with a person, and need to change course, or how I'm going to handle that. And I'll use my son Gus as an example because it's something we do almost on a daily basis. And as somebody who's not naturally inclined to patience and can run her mouth with the best of them, I'm glad to highlight the skills that I have worked hard to get, that are not innate skills, that are skills that I have acquired and that I love to show off. So when my son and I are working together and something goes awry and he goes sideways and things sort of devolve from the ideal place where I want to be, I pause and I stop and I review. So I review the goal. Is the goal too much? Is it too big a step? Is it too high? Am I asking too much? I will do what I consider, or what I call, a 360, where I look all around the situation to make sure that I have not overlooked some environmental or sensory input that possibly could be contributing to the situation being less than ideal. That can be anything from light, sound, how we sit, where we sit, what other things are going on around us. Do we need to speak louder, softer? Do we need to stand? Do we need to walk? Those kinds of things. So I like to give a situation that did not work out a really good investigative look and think on it. I also think that that's a really important thing to do. So the first thing is to pause and to review. And then I also like to think on it. Oftentimes gut feelings are really important when you're working with people one-on-one or in a small group, as you get to know them. It seems to me that oftentimes we already know what needs to be changed. It's just that we have to access it by giving it a little bit of space and a little bit of time. I'm a firm believer in data, so to myself, I will make notes to see what worked really well versus what worked okay versus what doesn't work. And then I try to replicate and work from that. I have learned in working with my son that the best strategy is to start with something that he is good at and then build on that. So try not to take a student out of their comfort zone immediately and challenge them. Instead, start off where they are, meet them where they are, and work from there with them, and try to gain trust and try to gain that willingness to perhaps step outside of their comfort zone, with you as the tutor being there to hold their hand and to urge them along and to be kind and help them understand when mistakes are being made and how they serve the process of learning. I am a big believer in that everybody has a story to tell, and that is how we connect to each other. So oftentimes when I'm in a situation where I believe the person and I don't have a good rapport, it's really important to begin a dialogue. It may not be about what you want to talk about, but to try to understand what that person is all about, what makes them tick, what do they love, what do they dislike. And then go from there. Disclose a little about yourself as well, and create a little bit of a connection. And that oftentimes will work wonders with people if they feel seen and heard, and perceive me as being interested in them, and then go from there. So those are the prompts, and now I'm going to be reading The Rainbow Fish by Marcus. I'm sure we pronounce it Pfister in the United States. It's actually a fairly common German surname, so I would pronounce it as Pfister. And I'm actually at the library here. I have been led into the Conesty room here at Transylvania County Public Library, and I have the actual book that I also got here at the library, so I'm going to read it just from this. The Rainbow Fish by Marcus Pfister. A long way out in the deep blue sea, there lived a fish, not just an ordinary fish, but the most beautiful fish in the entire ocean. His scales were every shade of blue and green and purple, with sparkling silver scales among them. The other fish were amazed by his beauty. Let's talk about the word amazed. What does it mean? The fish is beautiful. We know that. He looks different from all the other fish. So we can look at the word amazed and try to think about how we feel when we see something or someone that looks really, really different from us. Looks like something or someone we have never seen before. Amazement is that feeling of wow, that feeling of I don't know what this is, I have never seen it before, but my heart loves it and I love it and I want to look at it and I want to know more about it. They called him Rainbow Fish. Come on, Rainbow Fish, they would call. Come and play with us. But the Rainbow Fish would just glide past, proud and silent, letting his scales shimmer. One day, a little blue fish followed after him. Rainbow Fish, he called, wait for me. Please give me one of your shiny scales. They are so wonderful, and you have so many. You want me to give you one of my special scales? Who do you think you are? Cried the Rainbow Fish. Get away from me. Shocked, the little blue fish swam away. He was so upset, he told all his friends what had happened. From then on, no one would have anything to do with the Rainbow Fish. They turned away when he swam by. Can you tell me about a time when you asked someone for a favor or to give you something and they said no to you and hurt your feelings? Can you think of a time? And with that, I'm going to close down this interview. It's an interesting experience to do this via video. I think the only thing I want to add to it is that I am really excited at this opportunity. The fact that it is a paid position allows me to perhaps be a volunteer and do something good and pay the money forward to somebody who can watch my son and do things with my son while I do this volunteering work. My volunteering in the community oftentimes has to be limited to the times on the weekends when I'm not responsible for my son. And this is an opportunity for me to do something in a more expansive and more regular fashion where I can track some of the changes that I can affect, and all without feeling like I'm taking something away from my son. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is my favorite question to ask almost anybody, but especially children. I like to ask them what their superpower would be if they could choose one. And I let them identify what superpowers are. And I have yet to find the perfect one, but I am always amazed by what kids come up with when they start talking about superpowers. Thank you for your time.